Hi, I'm Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. Are we seeing the end of those boats in Istanbul that serve fish sandwiches? Bushfire flames in Australia ignite a political firestorm. And John Legend wins an award from a tabloid to add to the loads he's got already. And top of our newsfeed, Ekmek Balik, the famous fish sandwich, has been a staple for snacks for some people in Istanbul for quite a long time, but changes may be coming. Here's Adama.
For over a century, fish has been brought over here to central Istanbul from the Bosporus and the Sea of Marmara. People come from all over to sample Istanbul's famous fish sandwiches, Balik Ekmek. It's busier than normal right now, and it's no wonder, because this all might come to an end soon.
During most of their history, the boats were docked close to the Galata Tower, but about 12 years ago, the city decided to move them to Eminönü's shores.
Grilled fish with wheat bread, onions, lettuce and lemon juice are the makings of this amazing sandwich. They've been selling since the 60s. Now, there are currently 200 employees working here. Boat numbers have drastically been falling over the years. Now, there's only 3.
The Daily Sabah cites a report suggesting the eviction is part of a new project, that the boats are seen as eyesores and no new renters will be allowed. Authorities wanted sellers to leave by November 1st, but Istanbul's full administrative court has suspended that decision for now. Until then, these remaining boats will keep on operating.
First of all, we want to work, because if this place closes, most of us will suffer financially and morally. We've adjusted ourselves to the income of this place for 25 years. What do we do when this place closes? We'll be unemployed. Turkey's unemployment number is already high at the moment.
The current status is very poor in terms of the hygiene. Believe me, I've eaten here a few times and gotten sick. It's not nice.
This place is so nice that everyone wants it to stay, but there is a time for everything. For me, this place should definitely change. It should be made more beautiful, because Istanbul deserves more than this.
I come from Italy, where every single stone needs 10 years permission from our Ministry of Culture to be removed, because we have 2,000 years of history. Istanbul is almost the same. Modernity has reached Istanbul. I remember how Istanbul was many years ago, 30 years ago. But this area, to me, is one of the most important heart of Istanbul. And changing it too much could be a mistake.
Earlier, Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu gave this response.
No one is the permanent owner of a property in Istanbul. This is an arrangement, not a removal. In the recent past, individuals participated in the tenders, but from now on, subsidiaries of Istanbul municipality will be taking part in the public tenders.
There was no mention of what would happen to the workers. Parts of this great city are changing. The challenge is to ensure that change does not come at the expense of history and heritage.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the other things that caught our eye on social media. Well, this is Venice, St. Mark's Square, and it's experienced its worst flooding in decades, maybe longer. St. Mark's Basilica has been flooded for only the 6th time in its 1,200-year history. The city is massively over-touristed, and the people who go there in their droves have been stranded. But the water tourism boats are still doing a decent business. Disney Plus has launched. It's the studio's attempt to compete with Netflix et al, and it's got a very strong offering. All those classic movies, all the Marvels, all the Star Wars, etc., etc. And barring a crash when it went live, it seems like it will be very popular. Now, some of those classic movies have very offensive, often racist depictions, mainly of black people, but also of other minority groups. So in the interest of not continuing the offense that many have suffered for decades with these beloved movies, Disney has added this warning to the descriptions of some of its films. It may contain outdated cultural depictions. Well, this is what they've come up with. This is the new trailer for one of the more ill-conceived films of recent times, Sonic the Hedgehog. This is the producer's attempt at hyping the movie. This was their first attempt, and social media went for it, resulting in the unprecedented decision to redesign the lead character to make the internet happy. And the internet seems largely happy with what they've got this time. Good for them.
I'm Sonic, a little ball of super energy in an extremely handsome package. On my planet, people were always after my powers, so I came to yours. It gets a little...
Well, it is not yet summer in Australia, and yet bushfires are at their worst seen for many years. They're burning out of control in 3 states and have led to evacuations and accusations. Here's Esra.
The fires in Australia have been called catastrophic. Lands in New South Wales, Queensland and Western Australia are burning. At least 3 people have died, thousands have had to leave their homes, and more than 150 houses have gone up in flames. The crisis has also caused a political dispute to flare up. People are asking, has our changing climate made this year's devastating bushfires worse?
There is a group of ex-chiefs and commissioners within the Fire Services of Australia that have all come together to say, hey, we'd like to talk about the difference and our knowledge and experience of understanding fires and climate. And I think the science is there to say that climate change is happening. I think it's obvious that with climate change you're going to see more adverse conditions, so more drought, brings drought, the dryness, and then you've got these weather phenomena that are very strong, very intense.
So what do Australian politicians think about this? Well, this was Prime Minister Scott Morrison's response when he was asked about the climate crisis.
My only thoughts today are with those who've lost their lives and their families, the firefighters who are fighting the fires, the response effort that has to be delivered, and how the Commonwealth has to respond in supporting those efforts.
Other politicians have been more direct about whose policies are to blame for the severity of these fires.
You are no better than a bunch of arsonists.
The Greens Party blames the Morrison government's lack of leadership and the unwillingness of those in power to acknowledge the urgency or even existence of the escalating climate crisis. A government backbencher, Barnaby Joyce, added fuel to the fire by blaming the Greens, an opposition party that doesn't make government policy, for its approach to bushfire management. Joyce went as far as claiming that 2 people who died in the fires were most likely Green supporters.
And the crazy thing there, Kieran, is I acknowledge that the 2 people who died were most likely people who voted for the Green Party.
This was Morrison's advice about all of this political point scoring.
I think it's important that at moments like this, everybody take it down a few notches.
So while Australian politicians continue to play the blame game and firefighters keep trying to save homes and lives, here are the facts. The Brown to Green report, which is said to be the world's most comprehensive review of G20 climate action, ranked Australia 3rd worst in progress made towards reaching its Paris climate targets. The report blames a lack of policy. The Bureau of Meteorology and Australia's National Science Agency says Australia has warmed more than 1 degree since 1910, leading to an increase in the frequency of extreme heat. The Bushfire and Natural Hazards Research Centre says that warm and windy conditions are likely to increase the risk of fires. So it's clear the climate crisis doesn't create bushfires, but it's evident it's making them worse. And the government cutting budgets for fire services by $12.9 million, or 1.6%, and the rural fire service budget cut by an additional $26.7 million, or 4.8%, definitely doesn't help.
Most people think these fires run their hardest at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in daylight, and we're seeing a lot of fires now running really hard. That means very intense into the evening and through the night. And that's something that has only been over the last number of years.
So with the unprecedented extreme weather happening right now, what can we do to help protect us and our environment from a more flammable future?
Okay, let's go around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Wednesday. Now, this video posted to the website Dailymotion was made by someone who works for Google. In it, there are details about what the creator says is a secret partnership between the ad agency and one of the US's biggest healthcare providers. The person who works on Google's Project Nightingale says that 50 million Americans have had their personal medical data transferred to the search engine from a company called Ascension. The data is being transferred without any protections, and full medical histories are accessible to Google staff. Google say they've done nothing wrong and that patient data is safe. The number of hate crimes against people in America increased last year. People in the Latino community suffered the most physical violence, with attacks against them higher now than attacks against Muslim and Arab Americans. The current president of America, Donald Trump, came to power by describing Mexicans as being criminals, drug dealers and rapists. Now that community is facing the highest number of assaults in 16 years. Cause and effect. And as part of Trump's denigrating rhetoric about people from Latin America, he's constantly talked about building a wall on the southern border. Now his administration, desperate to keep the support of these same kind of people who voted for him last time, plan on having a live stream of the construction of the wall. It's due to begin streaming early next year. Goods coming from illegal Israeli settlements and sold in the EU must be labelled as such. The European Court of Justice says this will allow consumers to make informed decisions about their purchases. The ruling will apply to stuff coming from the occupied West Bank and the Golan Heights. And Greta Thunberg is on the high seas again after the teenage climate activist sailed from Europe to America for a climate conference in New York. She's now going to have to go back the same way. She was meant to be staying in the Americas to attend a conference in Chile, but due to the political instability there, the conference had to be moved to Madrid. She'll sail back to Spain with 2 Australian YouTubers and their kid. Good luck, Greta. And last up, an American tabloid magazine has been objectifying famous men for decades, since 1985, in fact, when Mel Gibson won the title of Sexiest Man Alive. Now it's gone to a very talented musician. Here's Louis.
Ain't this what you came for?
It's all in the surname, John Legend. Not only does he have an Emmy, Grammy, an Oscar and a Tony, now he's also People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend. 2019 People Magazine Sexiest Man Alive. There it is.
Thank you. What a man.
What do you have on, Frank?
Oh, this?
Yeah, what is it?
Oh, it's just a little necklace. A little something I created for myself. It says he got smile, yeah. Just a little acronym. Stands for Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony, Sexiest Man Alive. I'm the Sexiest Man Alive!
Not that everyone is taking his latest accolade with the due amount of respect.
Miles, are you so happy Daddy is the sexiest man alive? Luna, are you so happy Daddy's the sexiest man alive?
I watched the movie, Mom.
But at least last year's Sexiest Man Alive was happy for Legend. But he did speculate that someone else might have been in the running.
The folklore.
This guy. Yeah. And then there's this guy. The net seems to think he was robbed. But Legend's wife, Chrissy Teigen, updated her Twitter profile and acknowledged there are perks to being married to the sexiest man alive. Seriously, is there anything he can't do?
And that will do from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. You'll find me at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel and you can follow me on Twitter. Follow, subscribe and add. And I will see you again tomorrow.